Lisa here. I can see my camera's already out of sync with the words. This is the interference I get from my fans. I'm going to say my evil fans. Um, if you go to sleep at night and you feel like you've done something, more than likely you have. We consider this that you're working for the army of the Lord or you're working for the army of the bad guys. Either way, I'm speaking to you. These theorems are based on Dolores Cannon's work, reading my Bible, and my own personal experiences. Now, this channel is specifically for people who really understand they operate in the dream time, and I'll try to clarify that. Spirit's been wanting me to do that each time. So when you go to sleep and you feel like you've done something, like, okay, so it feels like, wow, I was on a boat and we were doing stuff and things were coming and going and it felt so real. That's kind of you operating in the dream time. You're actually doing stuff with other people to help the dynamics of spirituality or in this world. Now, when I say spirituality, please bear in mind it doesn't matter who and what you believe in, okay? There's only one guy, and he answers a lot of different calls. And that's the amazing part of it. And, this is where I differ from spiritualists. You can get angry with that guy, okay? And I've done this. I'm still here, man. I still have his favor. So it doesn't matter who or where you are in life. It doesn't matter how fucked up your life has been, if you've done bad things, or sometimes these guys who do really bad stuff is needed to fight that spiritual shit. But you got to talk about it with the guy upstairs, okay? Now, I'm out here because I went through a very traumatic experience with a 25-year marriage and had to walk away. And I've started this channel a long time ago in that environment to kind of protect my life. And in a way, I still am trying to protect my life because there's a elitist bunch of son of a bitches who think they can just do whatever they want with certain people's lives. Okay? So, I made mistakes. I had karmic marriages. Fuck, they fucked me over. If you're coming out of a marriage where you found out, holy shit, I married I don't even know this person, I'm there with you. Anyway, to Victor, or I call him Victor, you guys know him by another name. I just found out, and people, when I talk about personal parts and everything, it is my experience that when you walk out of a coven or you're being affected by an elitist group, whether they be 30-30-thirders, a bunch of fucked up women in your church who just decided they don't like you and know a little bit of kitchen witch magic, people, when they come together in groups of people, can affect other people's lives. And they do. And sometimes they do it on purpose. Now, Victor, I just found out, Victor's getting harassing phone calls from my Lisa Bassini's phones. Now, I have turned in 3 IE3 reports, so I'm hoping you acronym guys are really doing your job. And I also know from having lived in Shawnee, all my paperwork and my identity's been stolen. Now, to Victor. I have 2 phones, Victor. This is my personal phone. It starts with a 251 number. It has been cloned, and Miss Lisa just fucking hates technology. I have to erase this thing and reset it. I have 3 more phone numbers to write down in my book and then hope I have all the passwords to my stupid fucked up bullshit. Okay? I have to reset this phone. And here's what she does. The blonde from Canada, who's a famous woman, who I think the Lilliputians took off her eyebrows. Anyway, she She calls you people with my number. Now it's been the 251 number lately. I also have another phone that my ex-husband still pays for. It operates. It made a phone call to Yellowstone County here in Montana that I didn't make. So, if you ever watch me in 5D, and I know some of you do, and you hear me go, oh, that chick up in Canada just touched my vagina, and then she's going to call somebody. Well, she's been calling Victor. And Victor has what? A restraining order on me, or he turned in an FBI suit. And this is the word dichotomy comes up. Dichotomy and cynicism and all those words come out from Spirit, right? And I don't get what the hell Spirit's telling me because I'm not there with the facts like you guys are, okay? I'm totally operating out of Spirit because clandestinely they're trying to keep me quiet. I'm trying to be unalived because of an inheritance that belongs to me and only me. That a lot of people have been played with, even good friends from Queens. I know your story. Anyway, so if the wench from Canada isn't doing, there's a wench from Texas. There's a wench from the UK, 2 wenches from the UK, or is she Australian? One might be Australian. I swear this is fucking multinational, and I can't fucking wait to get paid. Anyway, Victor, it's not me. And if, Victor, you try to call me, Martin Brusque and the woman that you married withhold my communications because I sometimes, the phone calls come in 2 days later. They held back an employer that I wanted to work for. I didn't get the phone message, and they finally had to email me. And sometimes I don't get those emails either. I'm virtually, with technology, I'm virtually helpless, people. Okay, and then I hear because I do my sonic resonancing that they want to unalive me. So that's why I'm out here still, people, okay? Now, Victor, I had no idea. No wonder you don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either if I was making phone calls like that. But here's what you have to think about. I'm not there at the trial. Nobody's pulled me in anywhere. Haven't gotten a subpoena. Nobody tells me I shouldn't do anything. So that says something about my innocence, and you all trying to decide how to deal with it. This court case, people, when the essences of it come out, is just going to be amazing. So forgive me for I am going to talk about the Haarp today. Today is Thursday, and I am using the pendulum with the hammer. Okay. Now a few messages from Spirit. First, they wanted to go over a few cards. So when this card, if it ever comes out, a lot of you who fly out there and do work with the good guys, this card represents that this is for you, if you know who you are, and this is your last you're an old soul. This is your last go around, people. Okay? This card means old soul. Pay attention to this message. It's meaning for you. This is your last go around. This is for somebody who knows. Okay? Now there's a woman who the chick up in Canada identifies this card, and she thinks this card means her. Honey, this gal's got light brown eyebrows. She does not have black eyebrows. Okay, look at it real good. Those are not black eyebrows. This chick is not you. This card will never represent you. The Odell was an honorable woman who stood between a war and took the first shot because she ended the battle of 2 clans because family was on both sides. This is a woman who gave her life for family and could think very clearly and wisely and would never had participated in the things you have participated in. Okay, that message is given. The individual speaking to you right now knows what happened with a horse. The McGregor is a guy who has been watching the woman who identifies with the Odell. And he's not on your side, just so you know. And the publicist also plays the harassing telephone game, is what I got a message from today. Oh, and any of you big elitist acronyms out there, or and acronyms, okay, when you know you're physically fit, and then all of a sudden, you get the urge to go to the bathroom, you're on the way to the bathroom, but you fucking can't hold it, and you either piss or shit yourself. That's this woman's forte in witchcraft. So when you get that urge like you can't hold it, say uno reverse from the universe, I send it back to the publicist. I send it back to you, and if you know her name, say her name. Okay. Now, just so you know, for you 5D, maybe you're going to start, hey, shit, am I into this stuff? When you go into the dream time and you're doing stuff and you're getting quantumly entangled stuff, people, my advice is to please have your spiritual foundation very secure under your belt. If you don't believe in God and the angels and Jesus Christ, and you haven't given your life over to Jesus or to Buddha or whoever, Kuan Yin, whoever you fucking want to give your life to, if you aren't stabilized in that, please don't play in the 5D. It's very serious. They can imitate images. Everybody remote views, so your life is never, you're on stage. The Truman Show can be transmuted to be a positive thing, people, if you use it correctly. For me, my 5D experience has, with my past marriages and with my family, my original, I thought they were my birth family, and I'm gonna find out. My brother used to tease me that I was adopted. I always thought that was a joke, like him just trying to be funny, but I think I really was adopted, and I think, after somewhere in this court trial, I'm going to find out some very astounding facts about it. But anyway, I was always a people pleaser, tried to get along. I was verbally abused a lot as a child. A lot of people cared for me, and not my family, actually, my neighbors. I had people in the neighborhood care for me. But this experience with the Truman Show and being alone has bucked up my confidence. Like, God is helping me with my confidence. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're alone in life, even at a late stage of life, it's okay. It's okay. You'll learn how to make boundaries. You'll go through your life experiences and decided which ones were good ones, which ones you weren't, what you want to repeat and what you never want to repeat. You'll never go off for it again, you know what I mean? So it builds confidence. Having boundaries builds confidence. And it's toughened me up. God has taught me how to be a little bit harder of a nut. So like if I'm out there in the world and somebody talks like they're talking about, I'll go right up. I did this at the last place where I had to walk away. They were talking about me as if I wasn't there. And I said, I went up, were you just talking about me? And they said, yeah. I said, you shouldn't have done that. And I might talk to I had a law firm and I've won a senior citizens, anyway, I can't talk about, but I might talk to that law firm about what that person said to me. It's toughening me up, okay? So, and then the whole aspect of the chair. And you got to consider these people who think they run everything. You should want somebody on that chair who appreciates the value of the dollar and had to work very hard. And who understands people now and which people should be appreciated. And there's a lot of hidden helpers out there, so I appreciate you guys more than you could fucking know. Matter of fact, we had a battle. And to anybody who fights magic, this is going to sound a little crazy, and I'm not trying to be a pervert on it. Trigger warning here. But if you're alone in your environment, you know, I know they put CCTV cameras in and people remote view, but hey, you know, get over it. And when you do get awakened and enlightened, if you don't get up and start exercising, you're not there, okay? And if you don't change the way you eat and think about stuff, you're not there. And when I say change the way you eat, you know, it's not, there's times when to eat vegetables and drink water, but some people need to eat meat too. So like if all of a sudden you desire something you never desired before, that's because your body fucking needs it, okay? And the spirit's telling you what to do. So we transform our bodies and we become stronger. And if you're older and you're a couch potato, you just get up and do one fucking push up, one fucking squat. Do that every day for a week, and then next week you'll be able to do 2. And you just take it slow. If it's walk down to the corner and back, and you do that for a week, and then you go to the corner and maybe, you know, half the next block and back. You just build it up slowly, but do it, okay? And then the one other thing I really learned from all of this, that our words are important. Okay? And don't forget, everything is a recording device. Everything. That's when you get to meet God, there's nothing that's not, you know, the tree. If you were out there in the woods at night, them trees are telling everybody everything you've ever fucking done and go, because you don't think they see anything or they can't communicate. And just know, people, you can communicate through and with everything. I know that sounds crazy, but now we're going to go to the harp. And then at the very end, I have been pushed out of work. I know there's people up here fucking with me now. They have people up here fucking with me. So I'm going to try to transform myself by, I'm selling off some stuff. I've been through everything. After all, I had to go through it. I'm going through again. And I started lisastimecloset on eBay. It's all in one word. It's all written. They, for whatever reason, you know, they get on there and fuck with me. I couldn't split it up into words, so I just did it as one. And at the end, I'm going to show you what I have on eBay now, and then I'm going to show you a little bit what I'm going to put next, just slowly and surely. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so we're going to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is Skybusters Under Secrecy. Oh, actually, this is chapter 4. Sorry about that. Above the thing that says chapter 4, I'm going to read that. Scientists build toys. This is a neat big toy, Dr. Bernard Eastland talking about the Harp. And then tests of this kind could cause irreversible damage by Dr. Richard Williams in 1988. And the first statement was made by an interview, and the second statement was at a atmospheric threat physics and society talk in 1988. Chapter 4, Skybusters Under Secrecy. Dr. Bernard Eastland chuckles as he tells about the time that the metaphorical light bulb clicked between his mind and that of Dr. Simon Ramo. He's a big guy in military science, Eastland explained to Manning in a telephone interview. He was the founder of TRW and all these big companies. They're a big defense contractor. At the time, he was a board member for ARCO, Atlantic Richfield Oil Company. And this is where they start itching me. Sorry. When Eastland walked into the meeting room that day in the 1980s to give a presentation, he was aware of the senior scientist's presence. Eastland had a new concept for focusing a powerful beam of radio frequency or microwave energy onto the ionosphere. He had several reasons to expect approval. For one, whoever would fire up electrical generators to power his proposed giant transmitter could be a big paying customer for Arco's natural gas fields on the north slope of Alaska. I came in with my view graphs, Eastland recalls. I showed one view graph on the location of the north slope of Alaska, where the Earth's magnetic field is, where Russia is, and everything. Then I had another slide where I showed taking the gas, having an antenna, and beaming it up. Eastland didn't have to show the next slide. The idea clicked, and the military contractor apparently wanted to just think about it for a minute. Ramo basically told me to shut up and sat there and said, "Such a great idea. I didn't have to show any of the detail." Eastland said with obvious pride, "It's that kind of a concept. In fact, dealing with knowledgeable people, I never made it beyond the third view graph." Then they all started inventing themselves. The senior scientist whom Eastland impressed is an inventor who has patents on microwave technology, electron optics, and guided missiles. Ramo co-authored the book Fields and Waves in Modern Radio in 1944. And in general, he is a knowledgeable engineer. Eastland has been described as a soft-spoken, highly reputable physicist, president of the technological company in Houston. Eastland is a wired-haired madman. Omni magazine once said, citing his degrees from Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Columbia University, while working for 8 years in the Atomic Energy Commission's fusion program in the early 1970s, for example, he co-invented a fusion torch that could use plasma leftovers from fusion reactors in recycling solid waste. And that particular incident is cited in Rediscovering Tesla, Omni Magazine of March 1988, which you could probably find that in the Linden Hall Library of Science and Technology if you're interested. Sometime after the meeting where Ramo heard Eastland's beam-focusing ideas, the two worked together on a patent that they filed in early 1985. Their method and apparatus for creating an artificial electron cyclotron heating region of plasma was the second of a series of 3 patents that Eastland assigned to a subsidiary of Arco Power Technologies Incorporated, APTI. Ramo's contribution to the concept was to use a large superconducting coil on the ground to modify Earth's magnetic field at a high altitude, Eastland said. It had been a good time for Eastland. The controversy over the Eastland patents had not yet begun. No physicist had yet warned that experimenting with his patents could turn into an act of global vandalism. I love that. Eastland had been hired by Arco as a consultant to come up with the uses for the 30 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in Arco's reserves on the north slope of Alaska. Arco's problem was the remote location of the gas. Building a pipeline and shunting the gas to the industrial centers was no answer. That pipeline mega project had been on the oil industry agenda for more than 20 years without development. The company would get maximum profit if it found a use for its product right there on the north slope itself. In that scarcely populated stretch of icebound real estate, who would be the customers for massive amounts of power? Looking at it in terms of burning the gas on the spot to power a huge generator and make electricity, Eastland realized that they were talking billions of watts of electricity, not just millions of watts, put out by a city's megawatt power plant. What could his boss possibly do with a few gigawatts? He rejected every idea that needed smaller amounts of power. Eventually, Eastland came up with a wild plan. Use all the energy to power the biggest ionospheric heater in the world. The equipment on the ground would beam focused energy up to the ionosphere with the beam radio frequency RF waves would interact powerfully with charged particles that are always trapped there. The heating effect of the focused beam would then dramatically push a plume, a large section of the ionosphere, up and outward from Earth. As it later turned out, the big ionospheric heater in Alaska would be located far from the North Slope gas fields. But the challenge had served to spark Eastland's inventiveness. Anyone outside the military industrial academic complex watching Eastland's research the history of other ionospheric heaters might wonder, why would anyone want to heat and lift part of the upper atmosphere? Was the motive to allow his country to get a jump ahead of the Soviet Union, which had experimented with related technologies? Only they know for sure. Some of Eastland's research was supported by the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, under the project title Alaska North Slope Electric Missile Shield. They got a number down here. DAAHD, contract number 86-C-0420. So they did have a contract. The United States already had smaller antenna in several locations for experiments in bouncing radio waves off the ionosphere with a bigger tool than anyone else, and the ability to focus its beams. The United States military could fry incoming missiles, disrupt global communications, change the chemical composition of the upper atmosphere, and even engineer weather by redirecting very high wind patterns, jet streams. Other tricks which the invention could do would be debated a few years later. Earth penetrating tomography. Scanning the Earth with radiations bounced off the sky, basically X-raying the ground in search for tunnels and hidden caches, is a use which would show up in the National Defense Authorization Act for 1995, and there are possible uses that are more futuristic than tomography. Man, that gives me a commentary about the Middle East, but I'm not going to say it. In the 1980s, it wasn't an easy sell to the patent office, however. When he applied for the first of several patents of his ionospheric heater invention, the patent examiner told Eastland that his invention sounded like science fiction. Eastland replied that the technology was all known. Step by step, he backed up his claims with paperwork that proved that the technology was possible. Then the government officials were impressed, but before the document moved out into the public literature in 1991, the Navy first slapped a secrecy order on his U.S. patent number 5,038,664 for a year. That patent told how to make a shell of relativistic particles high in the sky. Relativistic particles travel at near the speed of light. When Eastland had the military's attention, the Pentagon opened its pocketbooks and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the initial study of his claims. Eastland said in a 1988 radio interview that the Defense Department had done a lot of work on his concepts, but he was not at liberty to give details. He later told Manning that after he had worked with ARCO for a year and applied for patents, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, had combined through his theories, then issued a contract for him to study how to generate the relativistic electrons in the ionosphere. That sounds dangerous to me. After 1986, he was off the ARCO payroll before the invention drew much fire in the media. Its first major publicity was in 1988, the year after one of his patents on the system. How to beam huge amounts of electromagnetic energy to selected regions of the upper atmosphere. Omni Magazine, March 1988, that article is in. The year after one of his patents on the system, how to beam huge amounts of electromagnetic energy, was made public. So that's in that Omni magazine. A publicized patent was titled A Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region of Earth's Atmosphere, Ionosphere, and Magnetosphere. Eastland told Alec Chadwick of National Public Radio that the patent should have been kept under government secrecy. He said he had been unhappy that it was issued publicly, but, as he understood it, the Patent Office does not keep basic, fundamental information secret. You don't get a patent if you don't describe it in enough detail to another person. How to use it, he said. Specifics and military applications of his patent remain proprietary, which in parentheses secret, he added. The radio interviewer, Chadwick, confronted Eastland about aspects which troubled the interviewer, mainly the enormity of what the inventor claimed his invention could do. Effects such as changing the planet's atmosphere sounded like something out of a Jules Verne novel. Sounding quite proud of his accomplishments, Eastland replied that nothing in the patent was science fiction. It is based on combining known technologies. Many of the applications in here are aimed at beneficial effects. Are artificial sunspots beneficial effects? Chadwick pointed to the page 11 of the patent, where Eastland claimed that his invention could disrupt communications all over the world. With a short laugh, the inventor acknowledged the claim, and obviously that doesn't sound too beneficial, so I'm contradicting my answer to the last statement. But in the patent itself is the fact that you can do that. Sunspots or solar flares will disrupt communication badly. This would do that through basically the same mechanisms. Excuse me for a minute. Eastland's enthusiasm whether to go on or not. That's the fire alarm. I'll be back, people. I won't give up on this. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. If any of you have been remote viewing me, you know there's a thing about me and fire going on. It wasn't a fire. The neighbors next door bolted and their apartment flooded, so they vacated. The guys are in there spraying paint. They sprayed that paint so heavy it got everywhere. It came out in like So we've all been asphyxiated a little bit. That's what that was. Anyway, here I am. Spirit said to keep on going. They want the words from the beginning said on this channel, so now I have to edit these two pieces together. But here we go. And we're not far away from being done, people. Let's see. How big one? And we've got a few more pages and then we're done. So I hope somebody enjoys this. Eastland's enthusiasm for planetary scale engineering came through just as clearly in an interview with Omni magazine. While acknowledging that many of the uses of his invention are warlike, I said warlock, forgive me, he also talked about more benign uses. His view of benign including using the technology to reroute the high-altitude jet stream, which is a major player in shaping global weather. I don't know how you would consider that benign, but another way to control the weather with his technology would be to build plumes of atmospheric particles to act as a lens or focusing device for sunlight, he told Omni. With this, the people controlling the antenna could aim in such a way that the return beams would hit a certain part of the earth. With the heating ability, they could experiment until they could control wind patterns in a specific place. The Omni article explained what this means. He says is that by controlling local weather patterns, one could say bring rain to Ethiopia or alter the summer storm pattern in the Caribbean. His device might even help regenerate the depleted ozone layer, patch the ozone hole over Antarctica, or break up atmospheric industrial pollutants like carbon monoxide or nitrous oxide. Not every scientist shared Eastland's eagerness to experiment with the ionosphere. Dr. Williams, a physicist with the David Sarnoff Research Center in Princeton, New Jersey, sent a letter to a scientific journal warning that Eastland's invention might become a serious threat to the Earth's atmosphere. And there's a reference here, Physics and Society, Volume 17, Number 2, April 1988, page 16. Williams summed up the content in Eastland's APTI patents for altering the atmosphere, ionosphere, and or magnetosphere. Cyclotron resonance heating of existing electrons would cause further ionization of the neutral particles of the atmosphere. Among the intended uses of the invention are to disrupt microwave transmission of satellites or to cause even total disruption of communications over a very large portion of the Earth. Other intended uses include weather modification, lifting large regions of the atmosphere, and intercepting incoming missiles. Now, here I gotta ask, where are these incoming missiles being intercepted and who's sending them? I mean, we as people haven't heard about incoming missiles. And 1 minute, people. I got something I've been forgetting to do. I'm making bread today, so I have to put a timer on. So the second rising. I'm having company tonight, so I made homemade bread and rolls. Isn't that fun? Williams came up with a pithy one-word description of the concept, sky busting. This sky busting concept may sound like a tall order, but look at the power levels that will be used. 10 to the ninth power up to 10 to the 11th power watts. This is equivalent to the output of 10 to 100 large power generating stations. High energy experiments pose a danger to the upper atmosphere, Williams said. He then referred to Eastland's statement in the radio interview that a secret military project was already underway to study and implement the invention. Williams had a chilling warning. Tests of this kind could cause irreversible damage. Williams reminded his fellow physicists that small changes in the upper atmosphere, such as mere traces of man-made substances, can have a profound effect. An example is the destructive effects of the ozone layer, a protective layer of Earth's atmospheres, which absorbs dangerous ultraviolet radiation. While making it clear that the ozone layer and ionosphere are separate layers, physicists say the layers are interconnected as well as separate. Regarding the ozone layer, Williams said after long negotiations, the federal government had joined in an international treaty to protect the ozone layer. A few tests of Eastland's invention might undo all that we have accomplished with the treaty. Effects in the upper atmosphere cannot be kept in one spot, Williams noted. The publicity was apparently not welcomed by Arco Power Technologies Incorporated. In August of 1992, Jean Ann Manning had confronted the president of APTI, Ramy Shani, PhD, a power beaming workshop at an international energy conversion engineering conference. She had come to the IECEC meeting to further educate herself about energy alternatives. But one item on the program took her away. From the Advanced and Innovative Systems sessions for a morning, the schedule said that a representative of APTI would be in a workshop on power beaming, and she wanted to ask the person whether APTI was going to build Eastland's invention. Manning slipped in the room without needing to point to the press pass on her suit jacket. The workshop was a rather intimate gathering of colleagues from national laboratories. The Federal Department of Energy and universities and meeting room held less than 30 people. There was one other woman in the room, also looking severely professional as befits a senior research scientist at a national laboratory. The discussion bounced from topic to topic as if the participants were in a hurry to get the formal meeting over and meet informally. Canada was involved in an experimental aircraft that flew to 150 miles in 1987 from microwave power beamed from the ground. Manning learned Arco, Raytheon, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and Japanese scientists made history in microwave power beaming. That's interesting. These aircraft or satellite projects can be used for surveillance, the speakers bragged, or to relay power for development of remote natural resources. Now, what could that be? What's a remote natural resource? Could they be talking about human beings? One well-dressed man stood up and asked for cooperation among the champions of laser beaming and the proponents of microwave beaming to find out what the stuff can do. Let's get a team together and solicit money from the folks with the pocketbooks. A project engineer for a large university's Center for Space Power was asked about environmental effects of microwave power beaming. He replied that the biggest challenge for the people in the room was the public perception of an environmental impact. Studies about microwave energy and microwave ovens were done in the 1970s and 80s, he noted, but since then the bulk of the environmental studies have focused on 60 hertz transmission lines. But I think with the data that's out there, you can show that at the power densities we're talking about operating, there certainly will not be any thermal effects, and the power densities where the people will be going close to the beam will be such that you're not going to have a problem. To Manning's surprise, he admitted that the big question is when people are exposed to power beaming, are the effects from low density, long-term duration? There hasn't been any kind of study on that, and that's going to be such a detailed, involved, intensive study that it's not going to be done in the near future because there's no mandate. Now, this is the year 2026, people. I wonder, has the study gone on to be to humans? And is this what's being kept secret? Manning swore quietly into her tape recorder. Then why in the world are they asking for money to build their toys before such a study is done? Good question. She didn't ask the question aloud because she wanted to hear as much as possible from the next speaker, the president of APTI. Perhaps she could find out if the beaming to ionosphere experiment had been canceled. Dr. Shanny was a rather swarthy, large man, dressed in a well-tailored dark suit. His presentation was brief, with an audio-visual about Arco's experiment in beaming microwave power to an aircraft in Canada, and a few comments. Perhaps being there was more important than giving a detailed report. Afterward, Manning waited outside the meeting room door on the sun-dazzled patio and stopped Shanny as he came out. She introduced herself with her business card from Explorer magazine, then asked him about the status of the Bernard Eastland patented technology. Shanny backed away from her, gesturing with his hands and using facial expressions to convey the impression that Eastland is crazy and the company was not going to have anything further to do with Eastland's futuristic patent. Momentarily assured that APTI would not be building the mega instrument, Manning let him rejoin his group and head for a restaurant. Then she replayed the scene in her mind and realized he had not given her a single complete sentence that she could quote. The message disavowing Eastland's work and reassuring her that APTI would not build such a technology had cleverly been conveyed without Shanny having committed an utter word. A couple of years later, the giant defense contractor E-Systems bought Shanny's company APTI. The trail from Eastland's schemes was further buried in 1995 after Raytheon Corporation bought the Haarp contract, and thus the APTI patents from E-Systems. Even if the contractors really did completely disown the controversial Eastland's patent number 4,686,605, APTI was the assignee on a dozen others whose technologies were related. APTI and the larger defense contractors who later swallowed APTI and its patents probably did leave Bernard Eastland's controversial patents in their dust. There's a notation down here, and I'm going to read it to you. Eastland's APTI patent, the 4,686,605, it's called Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region in Earth's Atmosphere, ionosphere and magnetosphere. And then there's number 5,038,664, Method for Producing a Shell of relativistic particles, held up 1 year by Navy secrecy order, and number 4,712,155, Method and Apparatus for Creating an Artificial Electron Cyclotron. As they accelerated their power beaming technology, among the unpublicized patents also assigned to APTI Incorporated that Nick Begich uncovered were, and some of these numbers I've already read, but I'm going to do it again, 5,068,669 power beaming system, 5,041,834 artificial ionospheric mirror composed of a plasma layer, 4,999,637 creation of artificial ionization clouds above the Earth, 4,817,495 defense system for discriminating between objects in space, 4,873,928 nuclear-sized explosions without radiation. You know, I have to say, and a lot of people complain about the trails by the airplanes in the sky, and now I have to wonder, do these scientists think they're replenishing stuff that they have destroyed? That's a question I have if I went to one of those scientific meetings. In the interview with Manning, Eastland explained why his method for creating a high-energy missile shield was an improvement over the current strategic defense initiative type of beaming, no satellite needed. The antenna of the ground radiate energy into the areas high above the Earth without the use of particle beaming from satellites to accelerate electrons in the ionosphere at very high altitudes. The effects would multiply if a high enough power level was used. In quotes, it says, I took a factor of about 1 million steps, increase in power it could deliver at, say, 100 kilometers altitude. I took it way beyond what the state of the art was at the time. It opened up new things. As I understand it, that's one of the selling points of Harp. By having this massively greater power, you can do a lot more interesting things. Basically, what I said in the patents. It is possible that the Harp scientists could have miniaturized the technology so that they don't need such a large area of land and electrical power as called in Eastland's patents, Manning asked him. And we're almost done here, people, so bear with it. This is all we got left. It's entirely possible, he replied. They have had a lot of good engineers working on it for some time. I would hope they have improved it. In 1994, Eastland wrote to an Australian who was concerned about Harp's impact on New Zealand and Australia. David White. March 26, 1994, letter from Bernard Eastland to David White of Production Technologies Incorporated, quoted with permission from Dr. Eastland. As we discussed, this Harp antenna may be a first step towards determining if some of the applications discussed in my patents could be accomplished. Most of the military applications require generation of relativistic electrons in the ionosphere. It is my understanding that one of the purposes of the Harp antenna is to study the generation of relativistic electrons. Now, remember, relativistic electrons go fast, or maybe even faster than the speed of light. The speeded up electrons would travel along Earth's magnetic field lines and could either bounce on a field line over Australia and return to the north, or be lost and fall into the atmosphere. Don't panic, Eastland wrote. This happens very high in the atmosphere. Whoa. It is years in the future that enough electrons might be generated to merit concern in the southern hemisphere, and that only if it can be proven that such electrons can be created with the antenna. I have to say right now, people, Earth does have its ley lines. And if they're playing with the ley lines on Earth, it's not good, people. And I want you to realize right now, the South is getting snow. And I'm up here in Montana, and it's a 60-degree day. I got my windows open. Confirmation. In the meantime, Eastland said, since I stopped working for ARCO, I have spent some time investigating uses of the antenna for possible replenishment of ozone holes and for steering the jet stream for weather modifications. You should never try to steer the jet stream, people. When the ionizing beams make some ozone by a breakdown in the atmosphere, he later told Manning, they also increase nitrogen compounds up there. The problem is, it takes a lot of energy to make a lot of ozone. The scientists plan to continue to work on the problem. He would like recognition for his part in inventing the Harp advanced ionospheric heater. They own it, but they can't take credit for it, he said. I was upset because internal politics is why I was let go. I went to my patent lawyer and he said, Ben, don't worry about it. It's a far out idea. If it works, the United States government said you invented it, and they can take that away. As evidence that Harp was based on Eastland's type technology, he said, in the RFP request for proposal for the project, for example, they stated that generation of relativistic electrons was one of the objectives of the program. Eastland gave a vivid picture of how energetic those electrons are. The electron that hits your TV screen is moving at 25,000 electron volts. When it gets more than 500,000, that's when you call it relativistic. The ones Harp is talking about are 1 to 3 million electron volts. The patent he wrote with Simon Ramo dealt with the how-to. How you turn the knobs of your antenna and beam things and make things happen. Since the Earth's magnetic field is barely strong enough to turn the needle on a compass, Ramo added the concept of using a very large ground-based superconducting coil to modify the amount of the Earth's magnetic field at a certain altitude. Eastland told Manning to give you a little more ability to control things. It would allow you to more effectively do things up at the high altitude. The reporter asked, has anyone raised the thought of things getting out of control? Eastland didn't seem to notice the anger behind her question, and he gave an enthusiastic technical answer. I don't mean control in that sense, he said. Let's say you want electrons to get hot. You send your waves through and they get hot, but only use up 1% of what you sent. So you have to use a huge antenna control in terms of what you want. Control in terms of doing what you want. The physicist emphasized that he is in favor of Harp. If 10% of any of these things work out, it's going to be a very neat thing. You notice that the noise harassment? Since I mentioned the weather? That's not a coincidence, people. A growing number of people don't agree. Before we meet Claire Zucker and the guys in the bush, the next chapter will look back at the history of attempts to do neat things in the upper atmosphere. And that's where I end on the Harp today. And as a person, as I, Lisa Piscini, actually deal with resonancing, since we talk about that, I'll probably get some downloads from those guys in space on what to talk about. But I am going to bring up, in this last chapter, I got information that when I exercise in any gym, anywhere, and if you are a targeted person, and all of a sudden your muscles feel like, you know, that fight or flight response? Like you saw something really scary and legs start getting shaky? That's produced by the Harp. If you do your sit-ups, and you know you could do 100 of them, but after 60 all of a sudden it feels like somebody maybe is stepping on you, that's the Harp, okay? They use this so you go to the doctor. This is how the medical industry is actually being operated, so we feel weak. So get up, people, get out of those fucking chairs and keep moving. And just know, if they're putting pressure on you and you do 100 sit-ups, say, or 100 crunches, and you only did 80 today, you did your 100 because you were working past pressure that is not natural. So you're stronger than you think you are. Know this to be true. Don't freak out, and don't go to the doctor unless you have to. Now, with that being said, I'm not telling anybody don't believe in the medical system or don't go to your doctor. There are some very effing good doctors out there, okay? I happen to have a good one. Now, with that being said, with the all the noise, I'm still going to go through and show you what I got on eBay. I hope you don't mind. I really could use the cash. None of this is like super important stuff to maybe anybody. But I got a bulldog pin. It's enameled. It's Eastern Airlines. Eastern Airlines no longer exists, so I got it out there. I think I have it reasonably priced. Maybe you're into bulldogs. I've got silly stuff. I have no my kids are just gonna throw this stuff away. I have it's a cloisonne pin. It's very old fashioned. The background tells you how old it is. It's got it was only done in the 20s, 30s, and 40s like that. It's a rose with blue rhinestone. The back is just brass. I got to put my little thank you for supporting my little business, because after I get done with my stuff, I'm gonna go through my art. Any of it that's not finished, I'm gonna finish it and start putting art out there. And I started doing drawings, so I'm gonna try to promote myself after I get rid of the stuff as an artist. That's my theory, anyway. This is a silver ring. It's marked. It's Shuby. It's the running wolf. I'll take it out of plastic. It's a size 8, 8.5. I have huge fingers, so it doesn't fit me anymore. But there it is. It's, beautifully reticulated. There's other ones on it. It does have wear and a little bit of wear to it, but it's in pretty good shape for its age. Yeah, Shuby did these in the 90s. Anyway, there's that. And a silly thing, I've had chump jobs on and off because I raised an autistic son. Sometimes to get out of the house and communicate with regular people, I'd go work at places. And I have it's a pink, Victoria's Secrets pink dog. It's a magnet pen. This is from the early 2000s. And then the next lot, I have a very long, here, I'll get it. Belonged to an aunt of mine. It's this is not up yet, but it's the next one to go up. It's flapper beads, and I don't know if it's glass or stone. I think it's glass or glass beads, and it's all corded on string, heavy string, but it's in good shape. It's in very good shape. But look how long this thing is, right? It's really long. You could tie it in a knot. It's flapper beads, so that's one of the next ones that's going to go up. You can watch for that. And I have some soups on. Soup's on. It's all soup recipes. Gives you like little menus and calendar for the week. What year was this? It's home. This is from the Home Service Division of Consolidated Edison. So this is kind of goes with electricity. And I don't have a year on here. Does it? It doesn't have a year on it, but look, foreign soups. Oh. Anyway, and then I've got I don't know what year it is, so I'll have to investigate that. If I find the year, I'll put it up on I descriptions. From the tropics to your table. 83 tested banana recipes from the Fruit Dispatch Company, 17 Battery Place in New York. And this is from the year, copyright 1926. Okay? So if you're interested in some vintage recipes, and the illustrations in it are beautiful still. Check it out. Like it look how pretty that cake looks. And they have all sorts of banana recipes. Here's how pretty the illustrations look. Isn't that nice? It's got some wear and it's yellowed from age, but it's in pretty good condition. And None of my stuff smells like cigarette smoke. I don't smoke cigarettes. And then I have Stained Glass Winter 1978 and 77. It's got some interesting articles in it. You know, a lot of imagery. The images are good. So I'm going to put that out there. So that'll be a few of the things. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, I hope the Harp enlightens some people. We are fighting energy weapons, people. Those of us who go up in space, our physical lives were being attacked by these people with these energy weapons, okay? Spirit's got us working on behalf of the Earth, planet Earth. Know that you're working on good stuff. If you go up and remember the dream time, you're one of the good guys, okay? So remember, I think a lot of you are amazing. I absolutely do love you. And peace out, everybody. Bye now.